camera showed me leaving the house, but I was asleep. The first reason I installed the cameras wasn't fear. It was doubt. Small things in my house kept changing places, and at first I blamed myself. A chair slightly angled differently than I remembered. The back door unlocked one morning when I was certain I had locked it the night before. Lights left on, in rooms I hadn't entered. I live alone. There was no one else with a key. After the third time, I found something moved. I started questioning my own memory. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. Maybe I was sleepwalking. The idea unsettled me more than the thought of someone breaking in. At least an intruder made sense. For a few weeks, I ignored it. I double-checked locks. I took photos of rooms before going to bed. I tried to create patterns that would reassure me in the morning. Sometimes, everything stayed exactly how I left it. Other times, it didn't. One night I woke up at 3:12 a.m. with the overwhelming feeling that someone had just walked past my bedroom door. I didn't hear footsteps clearly. It was more like a shift in air pressure, a presence moving through the hallway. I grabbed my phone and listened. Nothing. But the feeling didn't leave. The next morning, my front door mat was slightly crooked, not kicked aside, not dramatically moved, just off. That was when I ordered the cameras. They were small indoor security cameras, the kind you can hide on bookshelves or mount high in a corner. I installed one in the living room, facing the front door, another in the hallway outside my bedroom, a third near the back entrance. I told myself it was for peace of mind, that if I reviewed the footage and saw nothing, I could finally relax. The first 3 nights were boring. No motion alerts, no strange activity, just empty rooms and the faint flicker of infrared light adjusting to darkness. I started feeling embarrassed about how paranoid I had been. Maybe stress really was messing with my memory. Then, on the 4th night, at 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Living room camera. I was already awake. I had been lying in bed, scrolling through my phone because I couldn't sleep. When the notification appeared, my stomach tightened instantly. I opened the app without even thinking. The live feed loaded. The living room was dark except for the faint glow from the streetlight outside. The camera had switched to night vision, everything tinted in grainy black and white. At first, nothing moved. Then the front door handle turned slowly. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stared at the screen, waiting for someone to step inside. The handle turned all the way down, but the door didn't open. It just stopped there, slightly angled. Then it moved back up, as if someone had tested it from the inside. I felt cold all over. I wasn't downstairs, I was in bed. I switched to the hallway camera. The hallway was empty. My bedroom door was closed. I could see it clearly in the frame. No movement, no shadow. I checked the back door camera. Nothing. When I switched back to the living room feed, the door was still closed. The handle was back in its normal position. The room looked undisturbed. I replayed the recorded clip. There it was, the handle turning down on its own. No visible hand, no figure in frame. Just the handle slowly lowering and lifting again. I sat upright in bed, staring at my dark bedroom. The air felt heavy. My pulse was racing. I wanted to go downstairs and check in person, but something stopped me. If I opened my bedroom door, what would I see? Instead, I kept watching the feed. At 2:24 a.m., another motion alert appeared. Living room camera. This time, the notification preview showed a shape near the front door. I opened the clip. The camera had captured someone standing in the frame. The angle showed their back. They were wearing dark clothing, standing perfectly still in front of the door. I leaned closer to my phone. The shape was familiar, too familiar. The person shifted slightly, and the infrared light illuminated their face. It was me, my exact build, my haircut, my posture, standing in my living room. I stopped breathing. The timestamp read 2:23 a.m. I checked the time on my phone. 2:24 a.m. I slowly lifted my head and looked around my bedroom. I was alone. I was in bed. I switched to the hallway camera again. The hallway was empty. My bedroom door was still closed. I looked back at the living room recording. The figure stepped closer to the door and reached for the handle. I watched myself unlock it and walk outside. The front door closed behind him. The living room was empty again. I dropped my phone onto the bed, thought my entire body felt numb. I ran to the bedroom door and threw it open. The hallway was exactly as the camera showed it, empty. I sprinted down the stairs and into the living room. The front door was locked, the deadbolt secure, no signs of disturbance. I stood there, shaking, staring at the door. The timestamp on the video said 2:23 a.m., but the door had never opened. Or had it? My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Front porch camera. I didn't remember installing a porch camera. I opened the app slowly. There was a new camera listed, front door exterior, live. I tapped it. The screen loaded into night vision. And there I was, standing on my porch, looking directly at the camera, smiling. For several seconds, I couldn't even blink. The porch camera showed me standing outside, just a few feet from the door, staring straight into the lens. The night vision made my face look pale and hollow, but it was undeniably me. Same hoodie, same posture, same scar above my left eyebrow. But I was inside. My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. I looked up from my phone and stared at the front door in front of me. It was locked. The deadbolt was engaged. The chain was still hooked. I slowly looked back down at the screen. The version of me outside tilted his head slightly, as if reacting to something. His smile faded into a neutral expression. Then, without breaking eye contact with the camera, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a key. My stomach dropped. He unlocked the door from the outside. The deadbolt on my door made a faint clicking sound in real life. Right in front of me, the chain fell loose. The handle turned, and the door slowly opened. I stumbled backward as cold night air rushed inside. My phone was still in my hand, the porch feed still active. The camera angle shifted as the door opened wider, and I watched myself step inside. He didn't rush, he didn't sneak. He walked in calmly, like he belonged there. I turned away from the phone and looked up. The living room was empty. The door was wide open. No one stood in the doorway. The porch outside was dark and still. I looked back at the phone. The feed now showed him inside the house, standing exactly where I was standing seconds ago. My breathing became uneven. I slowly lifted my eyes again. Nothing. No one. The door was still open, but the room was empty. On the phone screen, he began walking toward the hallway, toward the stairs, toward my bedroom. I felt frozen in place. I switched to the hallway camera. The live feed loaded, and there he was, walking up the stairs, each step slow and deliberate. The infrared light illuminated his face clearly now. It wasn't distorted, it wasn't glitching, it wasn't shadow, it was me. The hallway in front of me remained empty. I was still downstairs, yet the screen showed him reaching the top of the stairs. My pulse was so loud I could barely hear anything else. I switched between cameras rapidly, trying to find a mismatch, but every feed was consistent. Living room empty, hallway empty, in reality. Yet in the recordings, he moved through the house. Then I heard something in real life, a floorboard creak, upstairs, directly above me. I looked toward the ceiling slowly. The house was silent again. On the phone screen, the hallway camera showed him stopping outside my bedroom door. He reached for the handle. I ran. I don't know why I ran upstairs instead of out the front door. Instinct took over. I sprinted up the stairs 2 at a time, my heart pounding violently. The hallway light flicked on as I reached the top. The hallway was empty. My bedroom door was closed. I looked at my phone. The feed showed him standing inches from the door, hand resting on the handle. He looked directly into the hallway camera and smiled again. Then the bedroom door opened on the screen. I stared at the real door in front of me. It hadn't moved. The handle was still. Closed, locked, I slowly reached out and touched it. Cold. Solid. On the screen, he stepped inside my bedroom. I switched to the bedroom camera. I hadn't installed one there. Yet the app now showed a fourth camera.bedroom.live. My chest tightened. I tapped it. The screen loaded. He showed my bedroom from the corner near the ceiling. The bed, the dresser, the window, and him, standing in the center of the room. He turned his head slowly and looked up at the camera. Then he spoke. "I know you're watching." The sound came through my phone speaker. Clearly, it was my voice, but slightly deeper, more certain. I felt dizzy. I slowly pushed my bedroom door open in real life. The room was empty, completely empty, no movement, no shadow. On the screen, he began walking toward the camera, step, 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 step. The image distorted briefly as he came closer. The infrared light flared, washing out his features. When it adjusted again, he was inches from the lens. He leaned forward and whispered, "You weren't supposed to see this." The screen cut to static. All cameras went offline simultaneously. My phone displayed a single message: "Connection lost." The house around me was silent. I stood frozen in the doorway of my bedroom, my phone trembling in my hand. Every light in the house flickered once. Then everything went dark. Not just the lights, the phone, the screen. The house felt empty, but not safe. From somewhere in the darkness, I heard my own voice whisper, "He's still downstairs." The whisper didn't echo through the house. It wasn't distant or distorted. It sounded close, too close, as if it had come from directly behind me. I turned around slowly. The hallway was dark, lit only by faint streetlight bleeding through the window at the far end. My phone screen was completely black now. No signal, no battery icon, nothing. I tapped it repeatedly, but it wouldn't respond. Then I heard footsteps, not upstairs. Downstairs, slow, measured. Moving across the living room floor, my pulse pounded in my ears. I took a step back into my bedroom and closed the door quietly. My breathing felt too loud, like it might give me away. The footsteps stopped. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop, the deadbolt clicking shut from inside the house. He had locked it. I stood frozen, trying to process what that meant. If he had come inside, if he had walked up the stairs, if he had entered my bedroom on the cameras, then where was he now? The hallway outside remained silent. Then my phone buzzed. The screen lit up suddenly. All cameras restored. I opened the app instantly. The living room feed showed him standing near the front door. The lights were still off, but night vision illuminated everything clearly. He was facing the stairs, looking up at me. My chest tightened painfully. I switched to the hallway camera. It showed me standing in my bedroom doorway, frozen, staring down the hall. The timestamp read live. I wasn't watching a recording. It was happening now. I looked down the real hallway. It was empty. But on the screen, he began climbing the stairs. Each step slow, unhurried. I stayed where I was, unable to move. My legs felt locked in place. On the camera feed, he reached the top step and stopped, right in front of me. He lifted his hand slowly and waved. In real life, the hallway remained still. My phone buzzed again. A notification popped up from the camera system. Motion detected. Bedroom. My stomach twisted. I was in the bedroom. I slowly switched to the bedroom camera. The screen showed the room from the ceiling corner. The bed was visible, the dresser, the window. And behind me there was someone standing inches away. I dropped the phone. I spun around violently. The room was empty. No one stood behind me, but the phone, lying face up on the floor, still displayed the feed. And on it, he leaned closer to my back. Close enough to whisper, "He can't see me." I grabbed the phone again with shaking hands. On the screen, he reached forward and placed his hand on my shoulder. I felt it. A cold pressure. Right where the image showed it. My entire body went rigid. The screen glitched for a second, the image tearing horizontally. When it stabilized, I was no longer in the frame. Only him, standing alone in my bedroom, breathing heavily. I stared at the phone, then slowly lifted my eyes. The bedroom felt distant, muted. My hands looked slightly translucent under the faint light. No, that wasn't possible. On the screen, he picked up the phone, looked directly into the bedroom camera, and smiled. Then the perspective changed. The bedroom camera feed ended, and the front porch camera activated automatically. It showed him walking out of the house, closing the door behind him, locking it. He stepped onto the porch and looked straight into the exterior camera. Exactly like in the first clip, he smiled and walked away. The feed cut to static. I was standing in my bedroom, but something felt wrong. The air felt thin, muted. I ran to the front door and grabbed the handle. It didn't move. The deadbolt was locked. I had unlocked it. I pulled harder. Nothing. I looked through the small glass panel. Outside, the streetlight flickered faintly. Empty. I ran back upstairs and grabbed my phone. The camera app was open again, but now it showed a different view. The living room. Normal lighting, daytime, the timestamp, read 3:42 p.m. I was standing in the living room, moving furniture slightly, adjusting a chair, straightening the doormat. I watched myself on the screen as I walked toward the camera and looked directly into it. "I don't think the cameras are necessary anymore," I said. The voice was steady, controlled. I deleted the camera app in the recording, uninstalled it. The screen went black. My stomach dropped. That hadn't happened yet. It was the future or another version. I checked my phone in real life. The app was still installed, but my reflection in the dark screen looked slightly delayed, a fraction of a second behind my movements. I raised my hand. The reflection followed half a second later. My pulse spiked. No. I slowly turned toward the bedroom mirror. The room felt distant again, like I was slightly out of sync. I looked into the mirror, and I saw him. Not me. Him, standing behind the glass, perfectly solid, perfectly stable. While my own reflection flickered faintly, he raised his hand, and I felt mine move involuntarily. He smiled, and my face followed, not by choice, by command. My heart pounded violently. "I was the one outside," he whispered. The sound didn't come from the room. It came from inside my head. "No," I muttered. He stepped closer to the mirror, and I felt myself weaken. The realization hit like a punch. The footage wasn't showing an intruder. It was showing the stable reality, the one where he existed, the one where I didn't. I staggered backward from the mirror. The room flickered. The edges of furniture shimmered slightly. My hands looked less solid than before. I locked the door. He continued. I came back inside. "You just didn't stay." The camera app on my phone buzzed one last time. System update complete. The screen went black. The house felt quiet. Still. Normal? When I looked back into the mirror, it was just me, standing there, breathing heavily. Solid. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. Nothing moved. No footsteps. No whispers. No glitches. I walked downstairs slowly. The living room looked exactly as I remembered it. The front door was locked. The doormat, straight dot, the chair angled normally. I picked up my phone again. The camera app was gone. No history of installation. No porch camera. No extra devices. I stood in the center of the room for a long time, listening. Nothing responded. Eventually, I convinced myself it had been stress, sleep deprivation, a hallucination. That night, I went to bed without reinstalling the cameras. I slept deeply, peacefully. At 2:17 a.m., the front door unlocked. And this time, I didn't wake up.